The silk fabric ripped like thunder through the crowded ballroom. Min-jun's hands, the same hands that once cradled Amara's face with tenderness, now tore through the emerald dress she'd spent months designing, exposing her pregnant belly to 300 gasping guests at what should have been their 5th wedding anniversary celebration. "This," Min-jun sneered in Korean, his voice amplified by the microphone he'd snatched from the DJ. "This is what happens when you lie about whose child you're carrying." Amara stood frozen on the marble floor of the Seoul Grand Hotel, her dark skin glistening with tears under the chandelier lights, her hands instinctively covering her 7-month bump. The cameras, oh God, the cameras, everyone was recording. Before we continue with what Amara did next, hit that subscribe button right now. Drop a comment telling me where you're watching from and what time it is there. I want to see how far this story reaches. Now back to the drama. 3 hours earlier, Amara had been in their penthouse apartment in Gangnam, carefully applying her makeup. The dress, a custom emerald hanbok-inspired gown that merged her Nigerian heritage with Korean elegance, hung on the closet door. She designed it herself, incorporating Adir patterns into the traditional silhouette. It was supposed to be her peace offering, her way of showing Min-jun's family that she belonged in their world. Her phone buzzed. Her best friend Keisha's name flashed on the screen. "Girl, don't go to that party," Keisha's voice crackled from Lagos. "I got a bad feeling." "It's our anniversary, Keish. 5 years. His mother finally agreed to host it publicly. This is my chance to." "To what? Prove yourself to people who have never accepted you. Amara, you're 7 months pregnant and Min-jun hasn't touched you in 4 months. Wake up." Amara hung up. Keisha didn't understand. Min-jun was just stressed about the company merger. His mother, the formidable chairwoman Park, was just traditional. Things would get better after the baby came. They had to. She was wrong. Now, standing in the ballroom with her dress in tatters, Amara watched Min-jun's mistress emerge from the crowd. Seo-yeon. Delicate, pale, everything Amara wasn't. Everything Min-jun's mother wanted for him. "The baby isn't even his," Seo-yeon announced, her voice saccharine with false concern. She held up her phone, projecting images onto the ballroom's massive screen. "These are messages between Amara and her ex-boyfriend Marcus from Atlanta. They've been meeting secretly." The images were convincing, timestamps, hotel names, intimate messages. Amara's mouth fell open. They were fabricated, but they looked real. Too real. Chairwoman Park stood from the head table, her hanbok immaculate, her expression carved from ice. "Remove her from this hotel. She's brought shame to the Park family name." Security moved toward Amara. That's when something inside her cracked, not broke, but cracked open, like a seed splitting to let something new grow. Amara straightened her spine. Her Nigerian grandmother's voice echoed in her memory. "Omo me, never let them see you crumble. A woman's dignity is her greatest weapon." "Stop," Amara's voice cut through the ballroom like a blade. She spoke in perfect Korean, the language she'd spent 5 years mastering. "Before you throw me out, there's something everyone here should know." Min-jun laughed cruelly. "More lies." "No, the truth." Amara pulled her phone from her clutch. Her hands shook, but her voice didn't. "For the past 6 months, I've been working with a private investigator. Not because I suspected Min-jun of cheating, I already knew about that. I hired her for something much bigger." The ballroom went silent. Amara's fingers swiped across her screen. "You see, when you marry into a Chaebol family, you learn quickly that everything is about money and power. So I started asking questions. Why did Park Industries suddenly acquire that pharmaceutical company in Busan last year? Why were there so many late-night meetings with Japanese investors? Why did Min-jun's uncle suddenly resign?" Chairwoman Park's face remained impassive, but Amara saw her fingers tighten on her champagne glass. "I'm an architect by training," Amara continued, her voice growing stronger. "I notice patterns, hidden structures, things that don't quite fit." She projected her own images onto the screen, financial documents, email chains, photographs of clandestine meetings. Park Industries has been involved in illegal pharmaceutical testing, using homeless populations in Southeast Asia as test subjects. falsifying safety data, bribing government officials across 3 countries. Gasps erupted, phones appeared, the live streaming began. "You have no proof those documents are real," Chairwoman Park said coldly. "Oh, but I do. I sent everything to the Korean Fair Trade Commission 3 days ago, also to the BBC, Al Jazeera, and the New York Times. The story breaks tomorrow morning." Amara smiled, and it was like lightning. "I timed it perfectly. I wanted you all together in one room when you found out." Min-jun lunged toward her, but Amara stepped back smoothly. 2 men in dark suits appeared beside her, not hotel security, her security. "Who are they?" Min-jun demanded. "My lawyers, from the firm I hired with my inheritance money." Amara turned to face the crowd, addressing them like the architect presenting a masterpiece. "You all thought I was just some naive African girl who got lucky catching a Chaebol son, but my father was Chief Justice Okonkwo of Nigeria's Supreme Court. My mother built 3 hospitals in Lagos. I come from royalty too. You were just too blinded by your prejudice to see it." She pulled out a document folder. "These are divorce papers. They cite abuse, fraud, and adultery. Min-jun, you'll also find a paternity test result in there. The baby is yours, confirmed by 3 separate DNA tests using samples from your toothbrush. Seo-yeon's evidence was fabricated, and I can prove it because the technology used to create those fake messages has metadata stamps. I had it analyzed." Seo-yeon's face went white. "But here's the beautiful part," Amara continued, her voice dropping to an intimate register that forced everyone to lean in. "I don't want your money, Min-jun. I don't want anything from the Park family. What I want is justice for the 127 people who died in your company's illegal drug trials. What I want is for every major news outlet in the world to know what kind of monsters hide behind your designer clothes and charitable foundations." Chairwoman Park finally stood, her composure cracking. "You'll never work in Korea again, I'll make sure." "I'm moving back to Nigeria next week," Amara interrupted. "I've accepted a position designing the new African Union headquarters in Addis Ababa. My career will be just fine." She placed one hand on her belly. "And this baby will grow up knowing their mother stood up to power, even when it tried to destroy her." The ballroom erupted in chaos. Reporters who'd been invited as society page puff pieces suddenly smelled blood in the water. Security didn't know who to listen to. Min-jun stood paralyzed, his perfect facade finally crumbling. Amara walked toward the exit, her head high despite her torn dress. At the door, she turned back one last time. "Oh, and Min-jun, that anniversary gift you gave me this morning, the diamond necklace. I sold it 3 weeks ago when you first gave it to me. I knew you'd try something tonight, so I hired someone to replace it with a cubic zirconia copy. The real one funded my investigation." She smiled. "I used your guilt money to destroy you. Poetic, isn't it?" She disappeared into the Seoul night, leaving behind a dynasty in flames. 6 months later, Amara stood in her father's compound in Lagos, watching her 3-month-old daughter sleep in the handcrafted bassinet. Zainab Min-sun Okonkwo Park had her father's eyes, but her mother's spirit, Amara could already tell. The fallout from that night had been nuclear. Park Industries' stock crashed 67% in 3 days. The Korean prosecution launched a criminal investigation. Chairwoman Park was arrested at Incheon Airport, trying to flee to Singapore with $50 million in bearer bonds. Min-jun faced 47 counts of corporate fraud and manslaughter. Seo-yeon, desperate to save herself, testified against them both, revealing she'd been paid won 500 million to seduce Min-jun and destroy his marriage, because Chairwoman Park couldn't stand having a black daughter-in-law tarnishing the family image. But karma wasn't finished yet. Amara's phone rang. Her lawyer, Attorney Kim, one of the few Koreans who'd believed her from the start. "Amara SSI, you need to see this." His voice trembled with barely contained excitement. She opened the link he sent. It was a Korean news broadcast. Her jaw dropped. Min-jun's father, the quiet, absent Chairman Park who everyone thought was just a figurehead, had filed for divorce from Chairwoman Park and submitted evidence to prosecutors. Turned out he'd been secretly documenting his wife's crimes for 15 years, waiting for the right moment. Amara's exposé had given him the courage to finally act. But the real bomb, Chairman Park had a secret second family, a daughter from a relationship with a Vietnamese woman he'd loved in his youth. He'd been sending them money for decades, and now he was legitimizing his daughter and nomming her his heir, cutting both Min-jun and Chairwoman Park out of the succession entirely. The Korean media went insane. The scandal consumed 3 news cycles. Attorney Kim's voice continued. There's more. Seo-yeon tried to sell her story to a tabloid, claiming she was the real victim. But someone leaked videos of her planning the dress-daring incident with Min-jun. They rehearsed it, Amara. They practiced how he'd rip your dress for maximum humiliation. It's all on camera. Amara closed her eyes. The cruelty still stung, but the vindication felt like medicine. The public backlash is destroying them both, Kim continued. Seo-yeon lost her job at the broadcasting company. No one will hire her. She's being sued by 3 other women Min-jun had affairs with. Turns out she wasn't his only side piece, just the one his mother approved of. Amara should have felt triumph. Instead, she felt tired and free. There's one more thing, Kim said carefully. Min-jun wants to meet his daughter. His lawyer contacted me. He's out on bail and… Amara, he sounds different. Broken. No, the word came out sharp and final. You have every right. He can petition the court when she's 18. If Zainab wants to know him, then that's her choice. But I will not expose my daughter to that toxicity. He made his decision when he ripped my dress in front of 300 people, when he humiliated me, when he chose his mother's approval over his family. Silence on the line. Then, understood, I'll inform his counsel. After hanging up, Amara walked to her balcony overlooking Lagos. The city pulsed with life, car horns, music, street vendors calling out their wares. This was home. This was real. Her phone buzzed again. This time, an email from an unknown sender. She almost deleted it, but something made her open it. Dear Ms. Okonkwo, you don't know me, but I was at your anniversary party that night. I'm a journalist with the Korea Herald. I recorded everything. I want you to know that what you did changed my life. I've been covering Chaebol families for 20 years, always knowing they were corrupt but too afraid to report it. You showed me what courage looks like. Because of your bravery, 3 other women have come forward with evidence about Park Industries. We're building a case that goes back 30 years. Your daughter will grow up in a world that's slightly better because of what you did. Thank you. Kim Jae-woo. Amara read it 3 times, tears streaming down her face. Not tears of sadness, but of release, of purpose fulfilled. Her mother appeared in the doorway, carrying baby Zainab who'd woken up hungry. She wants her mama, her mother said in Igbo, smiling. As Amara fed her daughter, her phone lit up with a video call. Keisha's face appeared, along with 3 other women, her cousin Ngozi in London, her university friend Yuki in Tokyo, and surprisingly, a Korean woman she didn't recognize. Amara, Keisha squealed. Girl, you have to hear this. The Korean woman spoke, her English accented but clear. Ms. Okonkwo, my name is Lee Mi-sun. I'm starting a foundation for immigrant women in Korea who face abuse from powerful families. Your story inspired me. I was married to a Chaebol son too. He beat me for 7 years. I stayed quiet because I had no power, no money, no proof. But you showed me documentation is power. Truth is power. She held up a folder thick with papers. I gathered everything. Police reports I was too scared to file. Hospital records. Witness statements. This morning my husband was arrested because of you. Amara's chest tightened with emotion. Mi-sun continued. We're calling it the Amara Initiative. We help women document abuse. We provide legal resources. We offer safe housing. Will you join our advisory board? Yes, Amara whispered. Yes, absolutely yes. After the call ended, Amara sat in the gathering darkness, holding her daughter close. Zainab's tiny fingers wrapped around one of Amara's braids, holding on with surprising strength. 3 weeks later, the verdicts came. Chairwoman Park, 25 years in prison for corporate fraud, bribery, and conspiracy to commit manslaughter. Min-jun, 15 years for his role in the scheme, though his cooperation with prosecutors reduced his sentence. Seo-yeon, 3 years for fraud and conspiracy, plus she was ordered to pay $300 million in damages to Amara for defamation. But the real victory came differently. Park Industries was dissolved, its assets liquidated. Chairman Park, in a stunning move, established a victim compensation fund with $50 billion of his personal fortune. Every family affected by the illegal drug trials received compensation. Hospitals were built in the affected communities across Southeast Asia. Scholarships were created for children who'd lost parents. And Min-jun's secret half-sister, Park De-seom, transformed the company's remaining resources into a pharmaceutical ethics organization, ensuring nothing like her family's crimes could happen again. 1 year to the day after the anniversary party disaster, Amara received a package, no return address. Inside, her torn emerald dress, professionally restored and preserved in museum-quality glass. A note read, "This dress witnessed your strength. It should be remembered not for how it was torn, but for who wore it when truth defeated power. A museum in Seoul is opening an exhibition on women who have fought corruption in Korea. They'd like to display this with your permission. You started a revolution." Amara ran her fingers over the glass, remembering that night. The humiliation, the fear, the rage that transformed into power. She gave permission. The dress now hangs in Seoul's National Museum of Modern History with a placard that reads, "The dress that changed a dynasty. One woman's stand against corruption, 2025. Amara never returned to Korea. She didn't need to. Her legacy was already there, growing like wildfire. The Amara initiative expanded to 7 countries. Laws changed. Women found their voices. Powerful men learned they weren't untouchable. And every night, as she put Zainab to bed in their Lagos home, Amara told her daughter the same story. Your mama was torn down by people who thought power meant they could destroy anyone. But they learned something that night. They learned that a woman with truth, courage, and dignity is more powerful than all their money, all their connections, all their cruelty combined. Zainab didn't understand yet, but one day she would. One day, she'd wear her own armor of truth and stand just as tall. Min-jun spent his prison sentence in isolation, despised by other inmates, forgotten by society. Seo-yeon worked minimum-wage jobs under an assumed name, forever barred from the spotlight she'd craved. Chairwoman Park's name became synonymous with corruption, erased from every charitable building and foundation she'd once adorned. Their punishment wasn't just prison, it was irrelevance, erasure, being forgotten by a world that had moved on to celebrate something better. Something they'd tried to destroy, but only made stronger. And Amara, she built hospitals. She designed buildings that changed skylines. She raised a daughter who knew her worth. She won. Not by becoming like them, but by being everything they could never be, honest, courageous, and free.